It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's hear from Angelina Jolie, who seems to be suffering from a severe case of TDS. Apparently, she doesn't even recognise her own country. Maybe get out of that bubble, love.
I love my country, and but I don't at this time recognize my country. And I think that's, but I've always lived internationally. I've always, my family's international, my friends, my life, my worldview is equal, united, international. So anything, anywhere that divides or, of course, limits personal expressions and freedoms and from anyone, I think is very dangerous.
Oh, you know what that nonsense is about? It's the whole Jimmy Kimmel saga. But I don't recall Angelina Jolie or any other Hollywood blowhard saying anything when Roseanne was cancelled from her own show, or Gina Carano, a fellow actress, who made a very mainstream comment and saw her career destroyed, or when conservatives from all walks of life have been silenced. But suddenly, Angelina and the rest of Hollywood are concerned about free speech. You know, the very same folks irate about Jimmy Kimmel's little suspension, all those Democrats and commentators. And let's not forget, he was suspended for lying on air and refusing to apologise. The same people irate about that and who suddenly care about the First Amendment were not too concerned when it was their ideological opponents being silenced and deplatformed from the president down. You think we've forgotten this?
Shouldn't be banned from one platform and not others for providing misinformation out there.
There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, especially around our democracy.
There are Americans who are engaged in this kind of propaganda, whether they should be civilly or even in some cases criminally charged, is something that would be a better deterrent.
If people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block. It's really hard to govern today.
This is a matter of corporate responsibility. Twitter should be held accountable and shut down that site. It is a matter of safety and corporate accountability.
The First Amendment is not absolute. It does not protect any single thing anyone says. There are limits, and that's important. And what this committee has been trying to do for the last year and a half is to chill the federal government from monitoring what is going on social media.
When you look at what Tucker Carlson and some of these other folks on Fox do, it is very clearly incitement of violence. Very clearly incitement of violence. I believe that when it comes to broadcast television like Fox News, these are subject to federal law, federal regulation in terms of what's allowed on air, what isn't.
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways.
And thanks to Tom Elliott for that compilation. And here's another hypocrite to add to the list, The View's Sunny Hostin. She was all for Roseanne being axed, but Jimmy Kimmel is apparently beyond reproach.
Our founders drafted the First Amendment specifically to protect the rights of citizens to criticize the government. When you cross that kind of societal norm, you must pay the consequence. Yeah. And firing her was the right thing to do. I'm thrilled that ABC did it.
Let's check in with Rachel Maddow, MSNBC anchor Rachel Maddow, and here she is doing a free ad for Antifa and any other leftist group wanting to protest the Trump administration.
You may have already heard this, but the organizers of the No Kings rallies, remember the No Kings rallies that happened back in June, those huge protests in June that attracted more than 5 million people across the country, organizers from the No Kings events that happened back then have just now announced the date for the next No Kings demonstrations. They're going to be October 18th. So that's going to be no thrones, no crowns, no kings. Saturday, October 18th. That's about 6 weeks from now.
Did you get that? Is it in your diary yet? Don't miss out. Rachel needs you out there. And the ad went on and on. Listen.
Indivisible organizer Ezra Levin did an interview about it with Rolling Stone today, in which he told Rolling Stone that there isn't a single large, flagship event they want everybody to travel to on October 18th. Instead, they just want protests everywhere.
That's what passes for news reporting on MSNBC. And talking about protests, have a look at these lefties losing it, trying to behead a Trump effigy. Granny has lost her marbles. These are the people we need to unify with. No, thank you. Now, here is one way to stop protesters from being pests. Here are some trans activists trying to disrupt a Turning Point event, being drowned out by chants of USA. Fun. USA! USA! Now, let's go back to The View for another meltdown, this time courtesy of Ana Navarro, who's having paranoid fantasies about Trump coming to get her.
This is what dictators and authoritarians do. It does not matter the ideology. At first, they come for the people with big platforms. At first, they silence the press, but then they come for all of us, because their intent is to scare us into silence and self-censorship. And look at the things that this government has done. They kicked the AP out of the Oval Office for not saying Gulf of America. They cut the funding of NPR and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Yes, they did that, Anna, because those organisations were not news sites but leftist propaganda outfits, and they're free to exist, but they do not deserve taxpayer funds. They're not entitled to funding from the US government, but Anna wasn't done yet. The meltdown continues.
And I will say to you all, to all of us, look, we have seen tech titans go into the Oval Office. We are seeing media moguls, publishers of newspapers. We are seeing all of them try to make the peace with Donald Trump. A bully always comes back for more. So they need to stand up, and we need to demand the same from ourselves.
Now, in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we have seen a real awakening, a call to action with millions proclaiming "We are Charlie" and wanting to continue his incredible work. Well, let's have a look at a man doing just that, visiting university campuses, setting up a table and inviting students, faculty, anyone with a differing view to talk, to debate ideas. But the far left, the unhinged, hateful left, aren't that interested in articulating their positions. They prefer to do this.
Right here! Every single one of you I hope you realize that. He's right. Their entire right.
Can you condemn? Can you condemn Charlie Kirk? The assassination of Charlie?
I don't care.
Why don't you care? Why don't you care?
Hate every single person around here. Get away from this table. It doesn't matter.
Why don't you care?
He's right. What matters is us, not them.
That is crazy. Hey, get off our table. Get off our table.
What can you say about that? And then there are the ones pulling crap like this and thinking they're awfully clever.
You escape to the north or wherever, white people, whomever, have an obligation to return you to your master. That's something inscribed in law.
That's not critical race theory. We can just diet it down. Well, I'll tell you what Kimberly Crenshaw calls critical race theory. She believes that a society that is colorblind is actually a racist society.
There's our evidence.
Yep, the suspect looks exactly like you expect them to look. Let's bring in the man you saw in that video, David K. David, You and your mate Cam Higby are putting yourselves in peril trying to talk to these folks. Why do you do it?
Rita, thank you so much for having me on. Honestly, a week ago, 4 fellas got on the call and they decided, hey, listen, we're not going to let terrorists terrorize us on a daily basis on our college campuses, especially after assassinating somebody like Charlie Kirk. We understand that freedom of speech, especially on campuses for conservatives, is non-existent. It's under threat. So regardless of what kind of lunatics we encounter, and as you can see, this is Atlanta, Georgia. It's one of the craziest places that I've been to on a college campus. Regardless of how crazy they are, regardless of how they act, how they treat us, we keep going back and having these conversations with us. And we're not going to treat them the way they treat us. We believe that having civil, tolerant discussions with them may get through some people, not all of them, and definitely not the majority of them. But I think the main thing here is that if we can sway just one person out of 100 people that we talk to, their mind, who they will vote for next time, how do they perceive Charlie Kirk, for example, I think that our mission is successful, and we are starting to see that.
Tell me about the impact Charlie's death had on you personally, to see such a gentle soul assassinated in that manner, and then the ugliness that followed with people celebrating that death, justifying it. How did that impact you personally?
It's absolutely terrible, Rita. I've been in this space for about 1.5 years, and my father always told me, if you want to be successful in this space, find somebody that you want to role model after. And I just so happened to land on Charlie for the simple fact that I really do believe that if you want to engage in public discourse, it shouldn't be about gotchas or making people look silly. You should try and change people's perception and the way they think about things. And the only way that I think you can change my mind, for example, is not by being mean to me or making me look silly, is by actually engaging in civil discussions. And more importantly, being tolerant of an individual's position. That is Charlie Kirk. That is what Charlie taught me. I've never met him in my life, but man, millions of us feel like they've met him, especially after yesterday. What I've learned and why I truly do love what Charlie's style is, and I call it Charlie style, is because being civil and tolerant of individuals that you disagree with is what America is all about. And I really hope that that is what we continue to go on here, because it's under true threat in America now. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, today you were at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Let's just have a look at a little of how that went.
There are some people who are justified in using violence and other people who don't have that right.
Would it be morally acceptable
violence.
is what we're asking? Like, if you came up with a gun and shot us in the face, like, for our sign, would that be
Some people would argue that it'd be morally right to shoot y'all in the face.
I think that's crazy. I think that's crazy.
If people made the argument that giving a platform to...
What do you think about Charlie?
There's so many Charlies.
Charlie Kirk.
There's so many Charlies.
Charlie Kirk, who was assassinated behind a table just like this one.
I know that's the person that's trending, but Charlie Kirk was a byproduct of people like this.
David, I applaud your patience and your civility in not losing your temper, but is there any chance of getting through to people who seem to be so utterly broken?
Unfortunately, Rita, with folks like this, I don't think so. But the impact is the people around, right? Kim and I had this discussion on our drive back from the university. This person made himself look terrible and made us look incredible, regardless of what we said. Why? At the end, we wanted to shake their hand. We did. We wanted to shake the individual's hand, and they refused to do so. That's when they told us this entire thing, that they would shoot someone like us in the face and all the other crap that you heard there in the end. It doesn't help them win at all. And the people that may think like they do, or that opposed Kim and I's position, or what we have there, they see that, and nobody can agree with that. as soon as this individual said this, and probably 50% of the people in the crowd didn't agree with us, everyone gasped, said, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. I don't want to misgender the person, so he, she, but we're still not sure. But unfortunately, we're not really doing this for them, as much as I want to say that we are. It is more likely for a person that is in the crowd that may share a position like they do, but definitely don't agree with the overall rhetoric that they engage in. So perhaps that's what we're aiming for here.
David, you make a good point there. It's not always about convincing someone who seems to be utterly broken, but it's all those who are watching on, who perhaps are just deciding where they stand and seeing the extremeness, the ugliness of the modern left, I think, is providing a valuable service. But I want to ask you about how you feel personally when you've just conversed with someone and then they say they'd be happy to see you shot in the face. I mean, that must be pretty chilling.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate for someone like myself, for majority of people, because this is America. This isn't 2,000 years ago where you disagree with a person and their words hurt you to the point of where you want to go commit a gruesome act of violence. We pointed out at the end, he said that our opinions, our positions, our words truly hurt him or her. And that's the problem that I have, is that if these people truly believe that my words, my positions, my opinion, I don't have executive authority, I'm not a congressman, I can't enact any policy, that hurts them to the point of where they tell me that because of my words, they want to shoot me in the face. I can't believe that we got to this point in America. And unfortunately, I don't want to place blame on people. I think it's a little too early to do this, but you can't stop thinking about how these people got here in the first place. Have they been radicalized? Are they mentally ill? Is somebody propagating to them something on mainstream media? Are elected officials inciting this? Why are people suddenly wanting to take things to a violent level or violent measures just because they disagree with my political position? It's absurd and it's sickening, Rita.
It is sickening, and they never wait and consider that perhaps their words are violence and their words are hurtful and hateful. Telling a man who's standing in front of you that you'd be happy to see them shot in the face, they don't see that as hurtful, but you don't respect their pronouns and suddenly it is the crime of the century. Now let's look at a little interaction you had at Georgia State University.
Yet at some point, if you...
Let me say this to y'all real quick.
We're going to keep talking. We're engaged in civil debate here.
Do not need to be debated about. If y'all believe in something, stand for it, walk away from this.
Hey, give him a mic.
Right?
Can you come up to the mic and discuss it? Okay. So that's a good example of not liking public discourse.
David, that seems to happen a lot. If a student does want to converse, they're pressured not to by others. Tell me about that intimidation that students face, because there's a lot of self-censoring happening on university campuses.
Absolutely. And they do this while calling us fascists, which is the best thing about this. But in this instance, for example, it didn't work out. It simply didn't work out because he said it. If you believe in something, stand for it. He just messed up at the end and said, just walk away. Why would you walk away? We live in America where we have, at least to a degree, the freedom of speech that is given to us in the Constitution, although the government tries to infringe on it a bit. But we live in one of the only places that has this. Europe doesn't even have this. So why would you walk away, especially at a college campus where you're meant to have your ideas challenged by somebody like myself, for example, that is considered radical in majority of these people's eyes, although I'm very center. It fails. And every time that they try to do this, it just shows exactly who they are. And it makes it even better when they call us fascists at the end of the day, because they are the ones that are trying to suppress people's opinions in the public square and our ability to have a simple discussion with people who may disagree, but we're still doing it in a very civil, tolerant way.
Now, so far, tell me, what's the most unhinged campus you've been to? You've been to a few. So far, what's the worst of the worst?
Well, I have to always take it back to my home place, the place I love most, dearest to my heart. It is Georgia State University. I mean, that is one heck of a campus. It is in the middle of Atlanta, dead center of it. The streets go right through center of Atlanta where you see everything. So it's an adventure on its own. But the people there are very friendly. And what I mean by this is that they want to talk to you. They don't care about what it is, and they don't care that you're on camera, which is why I really do like this campus. But that comes with consequences, because a lot of folks there don't really think before they act or before they say something. And if they end up in a position where I'm not trying to make them look stupid, but because they make idiotic claims, they may end up in a situation where they look like it because of themselves. And they get angry about that. And just like you saw with the person at the University of Tennessee today, when people that you disagree with can't use their words anymore, they resort to violence. And that is our mission here on the Fearless Tour, is to make sure that nobody resorts to violence, especially on our side, because we understand a lot of people on our side are very angry after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So we have to go on these campuses and make sure that these folks, especially the most unhinged ones, see us right now still engaging in civil discourse rather than any violence.
Well, you're calling it the Fearless Tour, and you have to be fearless to do what you're doing. Before you go, do you have anyone in your family or friends who is telling you to stop this after what's happened to Charlie, that it's not worth the risk?
Yeah, of course. And I want to just say thank you to everyone that always messages us this, giving us recommendations. The first day we didn't have a wall behind us. Everyone was scared about that, so we adjusted that a bit. But I'll just say this, that my Jewish mom, who always worries about it and tells me to never do this stuff, don't go and do this stuff, she told me that I need to go do this. And when my Jewish mom said that I need to go do this, I knew that we were doing the right thing. So she kind of threw away all the scare out the way, understood that freedom of speech is really under threat in America. And that's when I said, okay, so yeah, my mom's worried, but she kind of threw it away.
Mama knows best. David Kate, thank you so much for your time tonight. Joining me now is a comedian and host of Primetime with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, I saw you at Charlie's funeral yesterday. I know you two were close. Tell me what yesterday meant to you.
Well, yesterday was a very special day. I mean, you were there, I was there. I wish we could have spoken a lot longer, but there were so many people there, and I just would describe it as a spiritual revival. A lot of people there might not have even believed in God, but when you walked in that building, it was impossible not to actually feel God. Like, it was actually palpable. So that's how I would describe it. It was like something I've never felt before, or probably will ever feel again, hearing top level people in the Trump administration talking about God. It's something that, I didn't really expect to happen, and Charlie made it all possible.
He did make it possible, and the Vice President, J.D. Vance, said he's talked more about God in the past 2 weeks than he has his entire political career. He's always felt a little bit uneasy about doing that publicly, but Charlie's changed that for him. Now, tell me about how Charlie Kirk kick-started your career.
Well, Charlie did it in multiple ways. One of the first ways he did it was he shared one of my crazy videos, just like you shared one of my crazy videos before anybody knew who I was. And it blew up and it got 1 million views. And in the video, I pretended to be very pro-abortion, and I kind of talked about, how much I loved it. And I really sounded disgusting and gross, but because the video was so well received, it just this light bulb went off in my head. Hey, in order to lampoon the stuff that I want to make fun of the most, I need to pretend to be that stuff. I need a culture jam. So Charlie kind of gave me and steered me in the right direction when it came to creating viral content. And on top of that, I've been able to go to so many college campuses because of Turning Point USA, because of the organization that Charlie started, that I would have never been able to without him, like Berkeley. And I mean, you name it. There's schools that I could never have gotten into academically, but I get to go speak to their students, all because of Charlie Kirk. So I'm indebted to that guy for life.
Now, let's have a look at a little of how the BBC covered Charlie Kirk's funeral.
Mr. Kirk built a huge and devoted following for his far-right views and his eagerness to debate with opponents.
enough of that. The far right, really, that's how they're going to describe Charlie Kirk. Was Charlie Kirk far right, Alex?
I mean, Rita, it's such a ridiculous accusation to say that Charlie Kirk was far right. I mean, the guy wanted to help and lift all voices, black voices, female voices, Asian voices. I mean, he did a coalition. He brought 400 young African Americans to the White House to meet Donald Trump during Trump's first term. So the guy loves to help people out. He loves to help young people especially, and he does not care about their race. He does not care about their gender. He just wants to help them. Or actually, technically, he does care about their gender. He doesn't want them to be transgender. But you know what I mean. Let me digress. Charlie Kirk is not far right. He's one of the most moderate guys in the world. And somebody taking out Charlie Kirk has probably only made this country more far right, sadly. Not that, I mean, I don't want to say that sadly, but it's just, I think it had the unintended consequences that he wanted.
Alex, I know exactly what you mean. There are always going to be a couple of people who go too far, but the overwhelming sentiment is of goodness and the country moving in the right direction. And you talked about how spiritual the day was, and you know it was moving when even those who are not religious, indeed those who identify as atheists, like great comic writer Graham Linehan, the man behind Father Ted and Black Books, he had this to say about what he witnessed during Charlie Kirk's funeral. He said, "You don't have to be religious to recognise a martyr when you see one." Alex, is that how you see Charlie now?
Charlie, 1,000% is a martyr. He died for free speech, doing what he loves, protecting the First Amendment, and he would protect the Second Amendment. I think he would wholeheartedly, even after this horrible tragedy. So anybody that was in that building, whether it was Graham or whether it was you and I, you could feel the metaphysical presence of the Lord, of God in that building. It was truly a sight that I have never seen in my life. So Charlie has this way to turn atheists into believers. And no doubt in my mind, is Charlie a martyr? He died, you know, protecting what he loved the most, freedom of speech.
And there was actually a section during the day when people who are not believers but who want to believe were asked to stand up, and there were a few in the crowd who did stand up and people prayed with them. So that was really quite a moving moment as well. Now, let's have a look at the other side. Let's have a look at how this professor of European politics, John Brennan, described Charlie's funeral. This is a funeral where Charlie's grieving widow, Erica, forgave the killer. But this is how an academic chose to see it. He said it was America's Nuremberg rally, almost like we were living in 1935. Extremism worshipped like a religion. Alex, that's an academic. That's why so many kids are messed up, depressed, nuts. And that's what Charlie was trying to counter.
Exactly right. All of these administrators and teachers are part of the problem on why kids are so unhappy. And I can see why a building full of 100,000 people just getting in this zone and praising the Lord and coming together, that can be a threat to an atheist teacher that wants to indoctrinate kids into thinking that their life has no meaning and that they just evolved from pond scum and that two rocks are smashed together and they evolved literally from nothing. So they have a totally different worldview than anybody else in that building. So when they do see a revival like that, a literal Christian revival, I'm actually not surprised that they have that reaction, because they hate to see other people celebrating and having a good time because they want people to suffer like they suffer.
Alex, it shocks me that you could have the grieving widow of Charlie Kirk forgiving the killer on stage, and someone could watch that moving moment and still compare the event to Hitler. I mean, that just shows you how far gone some people are. Now, I want to move on to other issues, and the Trump administration designating Antifa as a terrorist group. Do you see that as a step too far?
I personally don't see it as a step too far, because we need to figure out who is funding these radical extremist groups. And if you look back, I mean, the government will always label any group that's not even that extreme as extremist. So this has been a long time coming when we're talking about Antifa. They have done horrible things, not just to Andy Ngo, you know, a huge journalist that was assaulted and stalked by Antifa, but their whole agenda is to create as much chaos and damage, and they do not care if people get hurt. So I hope that Donald Trump actually figures out where these people are getting money to commit crime and make our country safe. So I'm happy. I don't want a bunch of government overreach when it comes to Antifa, because I've dealt with these people. They're freaks. They need a little government intervention, and they all should be on some sort of registry, if you know what I mean.
Yes, Alex, we've seen Antifa and their acts of violence for years now. Finally, a little bit of accountability. I can see why many see them as domestic terrorists. Alex Stein, thank you so much for your time tonight. Joining me now is commentator and former Turning Point USA ambassador Lydia Schaefer, also known as the Conservative Barbie. Lydia, let's start with some of the reaction we've had to Charlie's incredible funeral, one of the most impactful and memorable events in modern US history. And I don't say that lightly. I don't think we're going to see anything like it for some time. It was beautiful, but ugly people only see ugliness. And we're going to bring you some examples from pop star Pink to this dude, David Pakman, who posted, "The Charlie Kirk funeral is absolutely disgusting, riddled with speeches that only dial up the temperature. Stephen Miller's was particularly vile." What's your response to that, Lydia?
These people are sick. This is demonic. This was a memorial that honored Charlie Kirk in the most respectful way. This memorial brought so many people to Jesus, and I'm blown away that people like this can find a reason to be offended over it, can be angry about it. I saw so many tweets today, not just his. It's sick. It makes no sense.
Oh, Lydia, you're right. I could have picked one of tens of thousands. There are so many, but I've picked a few that have gone viral, like this one from Morgan, who writes, "This wasn't about honouring a young man's life of political service. It was a rally. It was mass conditioning through weaponised faith, with death repackaged as a turning point, a 10-hour stadium revival stitched together from nationalism, the glorification of military enlistment, and biblical martyrdom. This is the machine." It even had pyrotechnics. Lydia, these people are so confused. They don't understand what honouring Charlie meant. They don't understand what he worked tirelessly towards, and why the service yesterday was precisely what he would have wanted.
These people are miserable. I've never seen anything like it, and it just seems to be getting worse. I mean, these are the same people that cried over mean tweets, but now they're glorifying a political assassination. It's mind-blowing to me.
Do you see any healing with these people? Because we've had so much talk of unity, about turning down the temperature, coming together, and yet I am seeing just this doubling down from elements of the left. And sadly, it's not just a fringe element. There's many mainstream Democrats who are also echoing these sentiments.
Great question. I'm curious. I mean, this is not what you just asked, but I'm curious if there were any prominent Democrats yesterday that attended the funeral. I mean, it's a nice thought to think that we can bring people together. And I will say on social media, I have seen a handful of people that claim to be on the left say that they are leaving the left. They're leaving that side. They finally have seen the light. So that's reassuring to see some of these people just on TikTok and Twitter. But for the rest of them, I think that they're happy in their misery. It's disgusting, and it's demonic. I'm telling you, I think these people have demons in them, and I am truly praying for them that they will see the light, but I'm not so sure it's going to happen.
Well, let's hope they see the light. And pop star Pink, superstar really, Pink, she's come under fire for seemingly mocking Charlie Kirk's memorial. On Instagram, she posted that "Pop Goes the Weasel" should have played at the service. And Lydia, she deleted that post after getting a backlash. I mean, what can you say about that?
I actually haven't seen that, and I've never liked pink, and this just confirms why. I missed that actually, and I'm glad she deleted it because there's way more of us than there are of her. So she should have taken it down. She looked silly.
Lydia, let's move on to Jimmy Kimmel. We've got Jennifer Aniston and Ben Affleck joining more than 400 celebrities who condemned ABC's decision to indefinitely suspend Kimmel's late night show following his remarks about Charlie Kirk. They signed a letter penned by the American Civil Liberties Union calling for the protection of the constitutional right to free speech. And just hours later, it was announced that the show would be returning. Lydia, I don't know, perhaps those celebrities put some pressure on ABC, but it's kind of amusing to see all these people who never really had anything to say when people in their industry were being cancelled, but now they care about the First Amendment. They care about free speech.
Right. So they cried and he got his show back. What about the countless conservatives all through, 2021, 2020, who had all of their social media accounts banned? They cried that it was a private company. Exactly. They can do whatever they want. But now someone's employer let them go because they weren't performing well. And celebrities get together and sign a petition and cry about it. Typical.
It is, and they somehow find a way to play the victim even in this tragedy of Charlie Kirk losing his life to an assassin who seems to have been brainwashed by this hate from this absolute indoctrination. Lydia Schaefer, thank you so much for your time tonight. Appreciate it.